Chapter 12. Nothing but Mysteries. The large clock that sat upon the wall of Caddick Academy struck midnight. Jeremy heard the dismal sound from his room. He then turned on the light, because obviously he wasn't going to get any sleep. He got up and placed himself at his desk. He took a notebook and a sheet of paper, then started to calmly list all the problems that had presented themselves and the information they'd collected so far. 1. Professor Hertz. What does she know about Hopper? Why is she keeping a file on him? What do the codes mean? And the address in Brussels? He sighed. Nothing but questions, and he'd only just started. 2. The man with dogs. Who is he? What does he want? Why did he attack Odd and Yumi's parents? Who will be the next victim? This thought made him freeze. His parents lived far away from Caddick. Maybe that would keep them safe. Or maybe not. After all, Odd's parents also live in a different city. The student preferred not to think about it. 3. Richard. Why did so much code appear on his computer? Was it Hopper who sent them to him? And why does Aelita treat him like some sort of god? Jeremy sighed and erased the last sentence. It wasn't exactly correct. It was true that his heart had almost stopped when the girl had told him that she saw Richard in a cafe that morning, but for the moment it was of no importance. 4. Hopper. What is the significance of the video he pushed us to find? And what must we do to help Aelita find her mother? 5. Xana. As he wrote these initials, the hand holding the pen stopped dead. Xana had been destroyed. That, at least, they were sure of. What if that wasn't the case? Odd hadn't managed to sleep either. He couldn't stop seeing the darkened eyes of Mr. Ishiyama superimposed over those of his father after he'd been attacked. Usually, the student was always in high spirits, but recent events were starting to seriously trouble him. Someone had rang the doorbell and lured his father into the garden to do something to him. Odd was now convinced that it wasn't a kidnapping attempt. If not, the same thing would have happened to Yumi's parents. The important question was therefore to find out what the man with the 2 dogs wanted. What was he doing with cable gloves? How did he manage to erase his image from the video Jeremy had recorded in the Hermitage? Suddenly, he remembered the strange memory card that his mother had given him at the hospital. He leapt out of the bed, then began to rummage through his jacket pockets. He took out the small black plastic rectangle. He observed it. Nothing. No writing, just 3 or 4 golden marks on one of the sides. Odd sighed. He knew nothing about technical things, but Eva, on the other hand, seemed rather gifted in that area. It was really thanks to her that he discovered the image of the man with dogs on the Hermitage surveillance video, so she could surely help him discover what was hidden on this plastic thing. And then, tomorrow was Sunday, an opportunity for him to visit her. He might even be able to meet her parents and stay at her house for a while. Fantastic! He rifled through the mess on his desk to find the scrap of paper on which he'd written Eva's address and phone number, Rue André René. It was only 2 o'clock in the morning, but he still decided to call Jeremy, who immediately picked up. Apparently you haven't managed to sleep either. No, Jeremy said. I was in the middle of studying how to force the lock on the apartment for Org and Yumi. I'm a little computer hacker, Odd laughed. I just wanted to tell you that you won't see me tomorrow morning. I'm going to see Eva. Jeremy's voice immediately became more somber. What do you have in mind? Nothing, don't worry. Hey, Odd, you're not going to do some films about Eva by any chance? And what if I am? She's a great girl, isn't she? I didn't talk about the memory card, because if Jeremy had seen it, he would immediately set to work on it, and he wouldn't have an excuse to go to Eva's house anymore. So for that reason, you intend to go behind Jim Morell's back again? Jeremy questioned. You really are a genius, Einstein, Odd responded before hanging up. Sunday morning arrived quickly. Dark clouds hung heavy with the threat of rain, and that didn't deter Odd. Rue André René was large and long, bordered by tall trees that shook in the violent wind. 2 rows of small, tidy houses with black roofs and wooden walls, all painted white, lined up in front of the boy's gaze. What rotten weather, Odd thought, shivering. Suddenly, lightning lit up the sky, and a large drop of rain fell onto his nose. Then another. He shot beneath the trees like an arrow, being very careful not to slip on the footpath that had been dirtied by sleet in previous days. He then looked for the numbers written on the letterboxes. 30, 28. The rain intensified, and in but a few seconds he found himself soaked to the bone, his blonde hair stuck to his face, and his clothing weighing a ton. He accelerated again, upset about having to present himself to Eva like this, but he no longer had a choice. It was impossible to return to Caddick in this torrential rain. 18. The 1 and 8 were painted in red varnish. Odd jumped onto the doorstep, protected by a canopy. He rang. No response. He rang again, and afraid of not pressing hard enough, he tried a 3rd time. Dring! Finally, the door opened. Eva was wearing a tight tracksuit. Odd, she said, smiling. Hi, he responded. I was just passing by, and it started to rain, so... Suddenly, he realized that it was only 8:30 in the morning. He murmured, feeling uneasy. I haven't woken up your parents, have I? No, I'm alone. My parents are at work. Working on a Sunday? Working? On a Sunday? Odd thought to himself. Would you mind if I come in for a bit to dry myself off? He said, embarrassed. Please, Eva responded. Come in. You're drenched. Get undressed. Odd stopped dead, unable to respond, which was rare for him. Get undressed? Did she really just ask him to undress? Would you by any chance have some clothes I could borrow from your father? No. He looked all around him. Actually, it seemed like a number of things were missing from this house. Moreover, it was barely furnished. The front door faced a small hallway that led directly into the living room, and an empty room that had nothing but a laptop sitting on the floor. It was the same thing for the kitchen. No sink, no furniture, no oven, and no stove. 4 walls within them completely empty, only a few gas and water pipes hanging from the ceiling. As for the boiler, it was just fixed to the wall. Where's the bathroom? Odd asked, astonished. Over there, the girl indicated, at the end of the hallway. The hallway opened onto 2 empty rooms that didn't even have beds in them. In one of them, there was just a pink suitcase, open and full of clothes. And in the bathroom, there was still a sink, a toilet, and a towel. Odd used it to fix his hair. When it came to his jacket, sweatshirt, pants, and even his shoes and socks, everything had to be dried. Only his t-shirt remained dry, so he decided to keep it on. He got undressed, took the memory card, wrapped the towel around his waist to hide his underwear, and returned to the living room. Eva was waiting for him, seated on the floor with her laptop on her knees. She looked at Odd humorously. You're almost naked, she murmured. I don't think that's very good. Me neither, Odd nodded. But with drenched clothing on, I could catch a cold. Wait. Eva stood, disappeared into one of the rooms, and came back with a floral pink tracksuit. Odd took it, sighing. The tracksuit was very tight and the pants far too short. Nothing like the James Bond look. When she saw him in that getup, Eva laughed at him. He tried to distract her attention. Your house's decor is, a little refined, isn't it? But he then held his tongue, because after all, what did he know about her family? Anyway, he said to save himself, you just moved in. It's normal. If you want, you could spend some time in the dorms, waiting for your stuff to get here. The beds and all that. I'm perfectly fine here, Eva responded coldly. But of course, he quickly said. Me too. I like it here a lot. Odd sat near Eva, then showed her the memory card. Eva, I'd like to ask you for help with this thing. I found it, and I don't know how to use it. The girl seized the card and observed it with shining eyes, as if she could see within it. Then she slipped it into the laptop and typed on some keys. It's just a video, she announced in a neutral voice. Okay, I'm starting it. Odd held his breath as an image appeared on the screen. It was a lovely-looking woman, dressed in a white shirt. Her hands and feet were tied to a wooden chair, and thick red hair fell messily over her shoulders. A man's hand, wearing a black glove, suddenly placed itself in front of the woman, brandishing the front page of a newspaper. The Investigator! The date had been highlighted in yellow, 2nd of May, 1994. Odd covered his mouth with his hand, stupefied. Then he exclaimed, This video is way old! It was just before Aelita went to yoga with her father, and this woman must be... Red hair, the shape of the nose and eyes. But of course, it was Anthea, Aelita's mother, held prisoner. The newspaper disappeared from the screen, revealing the woman once again. She began to speak. I'm doing fine, Waldo. Don't worry about me. They're keeping me prisoner, but everything will be... Her face suddenly changed to a look of infinite sadness. She slowly bowed her head and began to cry. How is Aelita doing? It's been years since I've seen her. She must be going to primary school now. Has she grown up? I want to kiss her so much. The woman sobbed. When a masculine voice ordered from off-screen, Finish it. Say what you know, and that's enough. Anthea raised her head, her face full of hate as she turned towards the man that spoke. Waldo, she continued, crying, these men are making me ask you to continue to work, to take down Project Carthage. If you do it, they'll free me, and then we can be together. You, me, and Aelita, like a family again. Suddenly, the woman raised her head, frightened, and quickly whispered, Don't do it, Waldo. They'll never let me go, and they're trying to kill you. Let Carthage go and save yourself. Get far away. The silhouette of a man then entered the image, hiding Anthea. There was a click, then the image disappeared in a shower of sparks, and the video stopped. Odd almost knocked Eva's laptop over. We have to warn Jeremy and Aelita and show them this video, he cried, leaping up. No, Eva responded in a clear tone. Don't you understand? Odd protested. That woman was Aelita's mother, and now we know that she's alive, or that she was alive at least 10 years ago, and that she was held captive. Jeremy can analyze the video and discover something. No, Eva repeated, also standing up. What has gotten into you? Odd responded, stupefied. The girl slipped a hand into her pocket, but when she took it out but when she took it back out again, it took out a few seconds to comprehend what she held in her hand. This was crazy! Why would Eva have a switchblade knife with a blade shining sinisterly but a few centimeters from his face? You're not going anywhere, stupid human, she let out in a strange voice. Eva's lips moved, but her voice was no longer her own. It was distorted, as if it had been spoken directly from computer speakers. A masculine voice, a deep one. Odd knew this voice all too well. It was that of their mortal enemy, Xana.